There is one character in The Big Bang Theory who almost never gets called the funniest, the smartest, or the reason the show worked. But without him, the whole series falls apart. Not Sheldon, not Penny, not Howard, not Raj, Leonard Hofstadter. Leonard is easy to overlook because that is basically the point of his character. He is not built to dominate every scene. He does not have the biggest ego, the loudest personality, or the most iconic catchphrase. He is the guy standing in the middle of the chaos, trying to keep everyone else functioning like normal human beings. And that might make him the most underrated character in the entire show, because Leonard is not just Sheldon's roommate. He is the emotional infrastructure of The Big Bang Theory. From the start, Leonard is the bridge between two worlds. On one side, Sheldon, Howard, and Raj, brilliant, awkward, nerdy, and mostly trapped inside their own little universe. On the other side, Penny, confident, social, emotionally intuitive, and completely outside their bubble. Leonard is the only character who can realistically exist between both sides. He understands comic books, physics, video games, conventions, and awkward scientific references. But unlike Sheldon, Leonard wants more. He wants connection, he wants romance, he wants a life bigger than the apartment, cafeteria, and comic book store. That desire starts the whole show. When Leonard meets Penny, he does not just see a pretty neighbor. He sees a possible version of himself that is less insecure, less isolated, and less defined by awkwardness. Yes, the early Leonard and Penny dynamic can be cringy. Sometimes Leonard seems desperate. Sometimes the show leans too hard into the nerdy guy wants hot girl trope. But underneath that setup, Leonard is not just chasing Penny. He is chasing proof that he is allowed to want a better life. That is why his childhood matters. Leonard's mother, Beverly, is cold, analytical, and almost incapable of giving affection normally. Leonard grew up being studied more than loved. He was criticized, made measured, and treated like a psychological experiment by the person who was supposed to make him feel safe. So as an adult, Leonard's biggest weakness is obvious. He needs validation. He wants Penny to love him. He wants Sheldon to respect him. He wants his mother to approve of him. He wants his friends to see him as important, even when they constantly treat him like the guy who just has to put up with everything. And that insecurity makes him flawed. Leonard can be jealous, needy, passive-aggressive, and bad at setting boundaries. He's not some perfect nice guy victim, but that is what makes him feel real. Leonard is what happens when someone tries to become emotionally healthy while still believing they were never quite enough. That is also why his relationship with Sheldon is so important. On the surface, it is a classic sitcom setup, the normalish roommate trapped with the impossible genius. Sheldon creates rules, Leonard suffers, and the audience laughs. But Leonard is doing something genuinely important. Living with Sheldon would be exhausting for almost anyone. The roommate agreement, the couch spot, the bathroom schedule, the emergency drills, the constant criticism. Sheldon turns everyday life into a legal negotiation, and Leonard puts up with it for years. Part of that is weakness. Leonard struggles to say no. But part of it is compassion. He understands Sheldon better than almost anyone. He knows Sheldon is difficult, but not usually malicious. Sheldon often does not understand the emotional effect he has on people. Leonard becomes the person translating Sheldon to the world and the world back to Sheldon. That is the reason Sheldon even has a friend group. Without Leonard, Sheldon probably does not become close with Penny. Without Leonard, Amy probably never becomes part of the group in the same way. Without Leonard, Sheldon remains brilliant but isolated, trapped inside his routines with nobody patient enough to challenge him and still stay. Leonard makes Sheldon's growth possible, and ironically, that is why Leonard gets overshadowed. Sheldon has the obvious arc. He goes from rigid, selfish, and emotionally detached to someone capable of marriage, friendship, gratitude, and sacrifice. But Leonard's arc is quieter. Leonard's story is not about becoming a completely different person. It is about slowly realizing he deserved love the whole time. That shows up most clearly in his relationship with Penny. At first, Leonard puts Penny on a pedestal. She represents everything he thinks he could never have: confidence, popularity, beauty, normalcy, and social freedom. But over time, their relationship becomes more balanced. Penny stops being just the dream girl across the hall, and Leonard stops being just the awkward nerd who got lucky. They become two flawed people who actually choose each other. Penny gives Leonard confidence. She pushes him out of his comfort zone. Leonard gives Penny stability. He believes in her when she doubts herself, supports her through failed acting dreams, career changes, and moments where she feels lost. They are not a perfect couple, but they make sense because they both give each other something the other lacks. Still, Leonard's most important role is not just as Sheldon's roommate or Penny's husband, it is as the center of the group. Every friend group has one person who does not always get credit because their job is not flashy. They smooth over conflicts. They absorb everyone else's chaos. They make people feel included, and usually nobody notices until they stop doing it. That is Leonard. Howard is funnier when Leonard reacts to him. Raj is less isolated because Leonard keeps him connected. Sheldon is more tolerable because Leonard mediates him. Penny becomes part of the nerd world because Leonard opens the door. Leonard is the straight man, but that does not make him boring. In comedy, the straight man lets everyone else be ridiculous. He gives the audience a normal point of view. He makes the absurdity land. If every character were Sheldon, the show would be unbearable. If every character were Howard, it would be too much. If every character were Raj, it would lose structure. Leonard gives the show balance. He is the reason the apartment works as a setting. He is the reason the friend group feels believable. He is the reason Sheldon has someone to push against. He is the reason Penny becomes connected to everyone else. The sad part is that Leonard spends so much of the show wanting to be chosen, while the show itself quietly depends on him the entire time. He wants to matter, but he already does. By the end of The Big Bang Theory, Leonard's victory is not that he becomes famous, powerful, or universally respected. His victory is that he builds the life he always wanted. He has friends who become family. He marries the woman he once thought was completely out of reach. He survives the emotional damage of his childhood without becoming cold like his mother. And despite all his insecurity, he keeps trying to love people well. That is what makes Leonard underrated. Because in a show full of geniuses, Leonard's greatest strength is not his intelligence, it is endurance. He endures Sheldon. He endures rejection. He endures insecurity. He endures the feeling that he is never quite enough. And somehow he still keeps showing up. That might not make him the funniest character, but it might make him the most important one. Leonard Hofstadter was not just part of the group. He was the reason there was a group at all.